As a small business owner, it's all too easy to spend money on tools, gadgets, and software that make running the business easier. But let's be real, some purchases just aren't worth it. So today, I'm going to share with you the top things that you should absolutely avoid spending your hard-earned money on for your business. We'll talk about why these purchases might seem tempting, but are actually financial traps in disguise. And don't worry, I'll also give you some smart alternatives to keep your wallet happy. What's up everyone, my name is Steve Chu and I run 2 seven-figure businesses over at bumblebeelinens.com selling handkerchiefs and my e-commerce blog over at mywifequitherjob.com. Now the first thing that I would never ever spend money on as a small business owner just starting out is expensive equipment unless you absolutely need it. Now one time I had a student who wanted to start a business selling wall decals online. And before he had even made a single sale, he went out and purchased a $10,000 printer for his business. But there was a steep learning curve to run and maintain the printer, and he miscalculated both the demand and the price of ink for his decals. Plus, the machine cost so much that he didn't have much money left over for marketing to promote his business. Now eventually, he shut down his wall decal shop and had to sell his printer for pennies on the dollar. Now when you're just starting out, never buy anything expensive. If you feel you absolutely must have a piece of machinery, then consider leasing it instead. Leasing requires minimal upfront risk, and you can try the machine before you buy. Now in the case of my student, he should have used a third-party printing company to validate his idea before buying his printer. Now the next thing you should never ever waste money on is paid advertising before your website is ready. Now I can't tell you how many people come up to me and say, "Hey Steve, e-commerce is just too saturated. I just spent $5,000 on Facebook ads and haven't gotten a single sale. This is just way too hard." But when I go and look at their website, it's horrific. Now, if this is your first time starting an online store, it's absolutely worth it to spend $25 and run a quick PickFu poll. PickFu is a service that allows you to get unbiased feedback about your website from people all over the world. All you got to do is run a poll that asks, assuming you like the products sold on this website, would you shop here? Do you trust this store and would you make a purchase? If not, please explain why. And if yes, what do you like about the site? And within 15 minutes, you'll get 15 unbiased answers. Now, if people hate your site, then do not run ads. Fix your website before you drive traffic to it. Here's an example of how big of a difference a good website design can make. Here's an online store that a student wanted me to look at because she wasn't selling a thing. And even though her website was fully functional, it wasn't optimized for conversions. So I redesigned her website to look like this. Huge difference. I chose a better image, outlined her unique value propositions for her product, and added a big call to action button. By the way, if you're interested in learning more about how to start a successful e-commerce store, make sure you sign up for my free 6-day e-commerce mini course below. It will teach you everything you need to know for free. Now the next expense that you should never waste money on as a brand new small business owner is an ads agency. Now first off, when you are small with very little sales, hiring an agency to run your ads is going to be expensive and overkill. Now you might be tempted to think, this agency has way more experience than I do. They'll take care of all the marketing for me and all I have to do is fulfill orders and collect money. But mark my words, it almost never ever works out this way. Here's what you need to understand. When it comes to marketing your business, you know your business the best, and no agency is going to care about your business more than you will. And ultimately, you must figure out how to sell your product first before you hand off the work to an agency. I've seen it time and time and again. Hiring an expensive consultant will rarely move the needle in your business unless you've already done your homework. The agency will charge you a ton of money and hand off the work to someone overseas for pennies on the dollar, and they'll get paid regardless of whether you are profitable. Now the next thing you should never waste your time and money on is a cash advance service like Wayflyer, 8Fig, or Shopify Capital to borrow money. Now running an e-commerce store often requires significant upfront capital to purchase inventory, and this is particularly true when your products are in high demand, as you may need to finance your next batch of products before your current stock is fully sold. Now services like Wayflyer and 8Fig offer loans, but include fees ranging from 2 to 8%, which may seem cheap at first glance. But here's how they get you. The problem with these services is that they will take the money directly from your Amazon or Shopify account. And unlike a regular loan, which is paid back on a yearly basis, a cash advance loan is paid back as soon as the money comes in, which works out to interest rates of between 40 to 70%. This is a major ripoff. If you need money to fund your inventory, consider getting an SBA loan or even using your credit card. Never use these cash advance services. Now, since we're talking about finances, you should also never ever waste your money by letting it sit in a checking account that gets no interest. Now, as a small business owner, you are constantly spending money and receiving money, so it might be tempting to just keep it in a zero interest checking account. But there are now checking accounts and banks out there that specifically cater to e-commerce stores and will earn you interest on your money. So for example, I'm currently earning 4% interest on my checking account over at HighBeam, and I can write checks, perform wire transfers, and pay my bills from the same account. Now, prior to HighBeam, I had a checking account at Bank of America where I was actually getting charged money just to have the account unless I held a minimum balance. Now, incidentally, Bank of America and Wells Fargo are probably the worst banks in the world and should be avoided at all costs. Now, if you run a business, you should be earning interest on your money. Now, along the same lines, you should always use a credit card that generates you the maximum amount of points. When you run an online store, your biggest expenses are going to be shipping and advertising. And right now, the 3 credit cards that you should use are the Amex Gold Card, which gives you 4x the points on ads. The Chase Sapphire card will get you 3x points on shipping. And for everything else, you should use the Capital One Spark card, which gets you 2% off all purchases. Now for my online store, because I spend so much on shipping and ads, I never ever have to pay for plane tickets, hotels, or anything related to travel. Now the next thing you should not waste your money on are unused software subscriptions and apps that are not ROI positive. Now the Shopify App Store is an egregious offender of selling you apps that carry recurring fees that don't offer much functionality. One time, a student came up to me and asked if he should sign up for a Shopify app that promised to speed up his website. Now this app costs $50 a month, and I was a little puzzled because speed optimizations for your website are typically done only once. There shouldn't be any ongoing or recurring tasks when it comes to website speed up. So I installed this app on my mock Shopify store and discovered that it did indeed make the site faster, but there was absolutely zero value in keeping the app on a recurring basis. Another time, a student asked me whether to use a paid plugin to help design his website with a drag and drop interface. And here's what I told him. Would you rather spend $59 a month for the rest of your life? Or would you rather pay $300 one time for a great theme and just be done with it? I've seen so many overpriced apps on the Shopify store, and my greatest piece of advice is that you should invest some time and learn how to read code at a very basic level. Because once you understand how things work, you'll realize that most apps are a ripoff. In reality, the only major app that you need to purchase is an email marketing app. Most other apps, especially the ones that add small functionality or aesthetics to your store, should simply be contracted out or coded in-house. Now, the next thing I would never ever waste money on as a newbie online store owner is hiring an SEO consultant. Now, to be clear, there are great SEO consultants out there, but 99% of the ones that I've encountered out in the wild are horrible, spammy, and can actually hurt your rankings. Now, in the beginning, when you first launch your online store, it's not going to have much content, so there really is no point in hiring an SEO agency. The basics of SEO for an online store can be learned in just a single weekend. In fact, you can watch this video here for a quick and dirty tutorial. Now, unless you already have a ton of content on your site, or unless you need an SEO audit, hiring an SEO consultant is rarely worth the money. Now, the next thing that you should never waste your money on as a small business owner is hiring excess staff. And what's funny about hiring a team is that there's always an element of ego involved. Whenever I go to a conference, the first question I'm often asked is, "Hey Steve, how big is your team?" Because people will often judge the success of your business based on the number of people that you employ. But today, we just happen to be living in the exciting era of artificial intelligence. And as a small business owner, I would caution you to hire people only as a last resort, because human capital is by far the most expensive thing that you can spend your money on. Plus, humans are unreliable compared to machines. Now, in my business, I try to rely on computers, code, and AI to do almost all the heavy lifting. For example, when we first started doing custom embroidery for our store, we used to have an employee manually cut and paste the personalization from the website to a computer program to generate a stitching file for our embroidery machines. And this process literally took a person 4 hours every single day. But thanks to computers, I wrote a piece of code that automates this entire task, which saved us from hiring half an employee. I've also gotten rid of several junior writers on my staff for my blog over at mywifequitherjob.com because ChatGPT can do as good of a job at writing a basic post as a human can. And right now, I'm also experimenting with an AI live chatbot, which can answer the most commonly asked questions that we get in our shop. Always resist the urge to hire unless absolutely necessary. And instead, look towards AI and software first, and you'll take home a lot more money. Now, the final thing that I would never waste money on is a fancy office. Now, I know it's ironic since we literally just purchased an office building for our business this year, which you can check out right here. But what I never told you was that we ran our business from our garage for several years. Having an office is nice, but if you can run everything out of your home in the beginning, then do it. Cash is the lifeblood of your business, and anything you can do to preserve your cash will allow your business to have the best chance at success. Now that you know what I wouldn't spend my money on, make sure you watch this video here for all the must-haves for your business.